Okay, then I'm going to move on to talk to you a little bit about our long-term trainees, and we will let them share. As we've mentioned, we have 9 fabulous long-term trainees this year, and we will have 9 each year of the LEND. These trainees, as Dr. Toomey said, they meet in class on Fridays, every Friday for 3 hours for great learning and discussion. They also spend more than 12 hours a week, each week, in their field experiences that they will share with you, learning how to educate, collaborate, and lead on behalf of their clients. All of these students who you will meet are future leaders or current leaders actually in their field. Again, nine trainees each year, which include graduate students, self-advocates, and family members of persons with developmental disabilities. So it's a great spectrum of people that are involved. They represent fields including self-advocacy, family, social work, psychology, special education, physical therapy, speech and language therapy, music therapy, developmental pediatrics, and more. So these are some of the fields that you will see our trainees hail from. So I am going to now turn it over to Hannah Mitchell for her to introduce herself to you.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Well, my name's Hannah Mitchell, like Dr. Gooden just said. I am a 3rd year DPT student, so Doctor of Physical Therapy student at the University of Kentucky. I am a white blonde female, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'm currently wearing some UKPT wear, and it's a gray long sleeve zip up with the logo on it. And as this slide states, I have years of experience with children with disabilities that I'll talk about on the next slide. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm from a military family, so my dad's in the military, retired now from it, but that meant I moved a lot. So I was born in North Dakota. I think it was negative 30-something degrees when they took me home, so maybe that's why I like cold weather. I spent a lot of time moving around the United States and actually had some time in England for a few years. And when I was there, we traveled around Europe. My mom is from Denmark, so that also helps. We've traveled a lot through Europe because of that. I think growing up and being accustomed to different cultures and different types of people has always made me interested in kind of going outside my normal circle and getting to know other people. And that definitely plays a role in the fact that I have an interest in working with people with neurodevelopmental disabilities and how to assist them in whatever way I can. I love the water, so I grew up teaching some lessons for about 10+ years. And I encountered children with different neurodevelopmental disabilities through that. And I think the experience of working with kids in the water and having them be able to achieve maybe things they didn't even realize they could achieve in the water and just pure joy was such an experience that I carried it over to adults. So I started volunteering at, it's kind of like an outdoor water park where they had a lazy river. So every Wednesday I would get together with a group of adults with neurodevelopmental disabilities, and we would water walk and listen to all sorts of music and sing. And it was the highlight of my summers, to be honest. To look at a physical, that last slide, I'm sorry, I'm not quite done. To look from the physical therapy component of it, I fell in love with physical therapy through working with children with neurodevelopmental disabilities. My family friend is a school-based PT, and she also does aquatic therapy with kiddos. And that was one of my first experiences with PT. I had no idea that that was a part of PT, but as I'm learning through the program, physical therapy has a wide range of people we impact through the lifespan. So similarly there, I was able to work with children with neurodevelopmental disabilities. Next slide. Thank you. So through LEND, like Dr. Gooden kind of spoke about, we spend about 12 hours or so a week gaining total 360 clinical hours. And I was very amazed starting in August about the wide menu that we have of options. With COVID, my assumption is with COVID, we've had a little bit more online options than normal, which has honestly been such a benefit because we can access things outside of the area that we might not have to begin with. different webinars from the state or outside of the state. And that has been an incredible blessing to learn from other people. But thankfully, I have had in-person experiences as well, which I'm super grateful for, and I'll talk about a few of them. So one of the aspects that I got to see was the neonatal intensive care unit. So I got to be in the NICU. I never really had exposure to that small and fragile of individuals. And I think that was incredibly enlightening to me, that we can make an impact so early on. I saw children with Down syndrome, with neonatal abstinence syndrome. So they had been exposed to opioids or other substances in utero, and children that were born extremely premature. So I had a wide range of experiences there, and being able to educate families, I think, was one of the most impactful components of that, because you could really give them the power to have the information from a PT standpoint of different developmental milestones that they should be looking for, what to do if they're concerned, how to get a referral for first steps if necessary. And I felt like this scary time of having a child in the NICU, and maybe it's your firstborn child, I felt like giving families the education and the autonomy was really rewarding. I also spent an hour or two at the MAC clinic. Unfortunately, probably one of the only days that Dr. Toomey wasn't there. But I think you had a sickness reason for sure. But I didn't get to see you, which was disappointing for me. But I got to work with Dr. Catherine Gorban, who is a PT, who probably is on this call. And we got to do the physical therapy component of one of the assessment tools. And I think seeing the different disciplines come together to gain a wider understanding of a child was really impactful. And we got to see kind of the point of lens is to bring different disciplines together to try to figure out how to improve healthcare. I felt like that was the perfect example to gain from the Lend experience. So I was grateful for that. And I got to spend about 7 weeks at the Child Developmental Center of the Bluegrass. And that had children who were getting services through school, but also getting services through outpatient physical therapy. And I think that in itself was really enlightening to see the benefits of insurance, but also the restraints. And if you don't have a certain Medicaid waiver or don't have access to certain things, it can really be inhibiting for a child to gain the resources that they need. And I think that became very apparent through there. Like Dr. Gooden also said, we have time with a self-advocate, a mentor family, and a family advocate. I think one of the most impactful things from that experience, especially with my mentor family, I got to hear firsthand how they were not able to receive maybe access to certain services that they would have liked because they did not have access to a Medicaid waiver that they were on the wait list for. I think they said they have been on for 4 years and they're still in the thousands. And it's hard for me to understand until now that how much of a role the insurance does play. And it's really disheartening that people are waiting years and years and years to gain the insurance that they need to help provide those services for their child. You can advance the slide. Okay, through the lectures that we've discussed, we have gained so many resources. In fact, even just an hour or two before this, we were gaining more resources to put in our toolkit, which again is super impactful and empowering for me as a future clinician. Project Carrot, which is coordinating and assisting the reuse of assistive technology, being able to give access for those who maybe don't have the finances to gain assistive technology, give them the resources that they need. We also got a lot of education on different special education and access laws, which are important, especially as I just stated, how insurance can be really limiting. The Kentucky Protection and Advocacy Organization, we also had a representative come and speak to us about that. I think for me as a future clinician, the statement of, I'm not sure, I don't know, definitely isn't something that I want to say. I kind of want to say I'm not sure, but I'm going to connect you with someone who maybe does. If there's something that I'm not aware of within my scope, I do think it's my job to be able to search for the resource and connect them with the right people. And this is one of them. It's an organization that really advocates for those with neurodevelopmental disabilities. And so if there is a role that I cannot play as a future physical therapist, I can connect them to someone that can help support them. So that's also another amazing addition for Lend in my field. And then learn the signs, act early, like both Dr. Gooden mentioned earlier and Dr. Toomey. Getting access to the different types of resources and care early on can be really beneficial for families and receiving a medical diagnosis, like Dr. Toomey said. These tools from Learn the Signs, Act Early can help families know kind of what to look for and when to reach out to different healthcare providers. So that's a very, very small list of the many. You can advance the slide. Okay, an expansive curriculum. I think expansive needs to be bold and like bigger font, because really every week it's someone from a completely different discipline organization, but all connecting to the same idea. So we've had occupational therapist, developmental pediatrician, we've had the Kentucky Autism Training Center executive director, we've had the director of the Center for Dignity and Healthcare for People with Disabilities. So that's a very short list, but it's also showing the variety and how we all can come together for the same goal, and that's to improve healthcare for those with neurodevelopmental disabilities. My favorite lecture that we had was from Dr. Harold Kleinart from HDI, and he was our first lecture actually, and he spoke a lot on the historical components to those with neurodevelopmental disabilities. I don't think that's anything that, at least from my experience in public school, really talked about. And I had no idea that in the 1950s and 1960s that the conditions of the institutions, and we were told about a photographic essay called Christmas in Purgatory, and I spent the time to go searching for that, and I was appalled by the types of photographs that were in that photographic essay and the conditions that people with neurodevelopmental disabilities were forced to live in. I think it helps understand how far we've come, but also how far we still have to go with some of these restricting policies, and allocation of money could definitely be placed in better directions. And I think that's something that we as Lend trainees can always help improve and advocate for. You can advance the slide. Lastly, I just had a few very big overarching conclusions. Leading with empathy, I think that we are not equipped to pretend to know exactly what someone's going through until you've spent a day in their shoes. So all we can do as people, but as healthcare providers, is listen and try to understand how to meet someone in the middle. My mentor family spoke with me about how they've had to cut back on services throughout their child's life because of time. And I think it'd be easy for me to think, well, why aren't you doing all these things? But if you sit and think and listen and think about what they've been going through, it's very apparent they just don't have the time of the day to do 5 different services. So they've had to, narrow it down. And I really appreciated that mindset and understanding from them. Knowing that a one-size-all approach, it does not apply. You cannot treat one person with autism per se as the next person who has autism, and giving individualized family-centered care is really going to be more of an impactful and cause more of an improvement in healthcare. Education on resources to aid in inclusion. I've given a few of the ones we've already been given, but I do think it's my job as a Lend trainee and as a future PT to continue to seek out more resources and be a lifelong learner and open to listening. New research comes out all the time, and I do find it to be my role to continue to look at that research and be educated on what is best practice to meet that goal of LEND to improve healthcare for those with neurodevelopmental disabilities. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Hannah.
We do have a question. And the question comes from Kathy, and the question is for the trainees. It's a question for the trainees. Thank you for sharing with us about your Kentucky LEND experience. Knowing what you know now, what is one piece of advice you would give to next year's LEND trainees? Hannah, would you like to start?
I can definitely,
Sure.
I definitely can. I think that each lecture we get has a different overarching theme and a different resource. I would start making a running list, like a Word document of each week, what you learned from that experience, and write down the different resources that we get. In our Zoom classes, and we have a chat box, and sometimes even in that, there's 5 or 6 different resources that us trainees are putting in there or the presenters are putting in there. And I think it would probably be really interesting to go back from August to May and see all the different types of resources and have it kind of laid out exactly what you learned. We have reflection papers throughout, and I've definitely utilized those as a way to bring different components of the lecture in and remind myself of that. But that would be probably one of my pieces of advice.
Excellent idea.
Thank you, Hannah.
Dr. Bauer, any other questions for Hannah?
We do not have any other questions for Hannah at this time.
Thank you, Hannah. I know she has other clients to see in a bit, so we appreciate your being here. I'm going to turn it over to Morgan. Morgan, if you would introduce yourself and take it away.
All right, thank you. Well, my name is Morgan. I'm going to say this all on the next slide, so I'll just introduce myself. I am a biracial male. I have prosthetics on both legs, UK prosthetics, and I am wearing a gray shirt, and that's a little about me. So next slide. So my background is, of course, my name is Morgan Turner. I'm a Special Olympics athlete and athlete ambassador. I am a program education assistant at the Human Development Institute. For my job, I edit videos, review websites and documents to make sure that they are universal design for all. And I also do presentations about universal design and inclusion and a bunch of other different presentations. I was born with hydrocephalus, which affects my learning and reading. Abnormal legs, so I wear prosthetics on both legs. And abnormal left hand, so I have 3 fingers on my left hand. My favorite practicum hours are stuff with Special Olympics, like volunteering, playing in unified sporting events, and attending health messenger trainings, because Special Olympics is what I know and it's what I've loved, and I've done it pretty much my whole life. So I love being able to do what I love and also be able to use that as practicum hours. Unified sports are teams mixed with both people with and without disabilities playing together on the same team against other people with disabilities and without disabilities. Health messengers are people with disabilities training on how to be a better leader and role model, and speaking up for yourself and others about health and doctors and dentist appointments. I also enjoy using my practicum hours by editing videos and giving presentations about health and wellness and inclusion and adaptive living. This year, I have given presentations to college students that want to become healthcare professionals and future PE teachers about how to make things adaptable and for individuals with disabilities. Growing up, before I had this job, I didn't know a whole lot about universal design. So now I can now that I have this job, I can look back and say, wow, this thing I did was not universal design. And then I do other presentations as well. My favorite presentation was when Jason Jones and Christina Espinoza Bard talked about accessibility and universal design. This was my favorite because I could relate more to this, to the things that they talked about. Not saying all the other presentations weren't good, just saying that this was the one that really stood out for me in what I do every day now. It's also something we talk about in presentations, like what is universal design and how it is used in everyday living. My favorite part about Lind is making new friends and learning about other disabilities. Being a Special Olympics athlete, I have lots of friends who have different disabilities, and I've always wondered why they do certain things. And I also like to learn about their disabilities as well as mine.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Dr. Bauer, do you want to ask him that key question?
I sure will. Thank you, Morgan, for sharing us all your experiences about your Kentucky Lend experience. Knowing what you know now, what is one piece of advice you would give to next year's Lend trainees and families?
I would say
and advocates,
kind of like what Hannah said, take notes. Like she said, we have a lot of different, I guess you could say, projects, so that we have to remember, like all of the presentations that we've had in the past. So it's good to like have a note of, okay, these people spoke about this on this time, and then it'll be much easier to go back and look at things. And then also having a helper, which I'm so glad I have a helper that helps me with my classwork.
Morgan. Any other questions in the Q&A for Morgan?
we do not have any other questions at this moment.
Okay. Morgan, thank you for sharing with us. That was fabulous.
Thank you.